Hey Juventini, welcome back to the All Juve cast. This is another live version of the podcast. I got some requests coming out for a full show as I've been doing all the news updates daily, keeping everybody informed on what's being talked about in the world of Juventus and the Mercado and everything like that. And honestly, it'll be a pretty quiet one, and we kind of expected that going into it, right, Antonio?
Yes, good morning, Alberto. Yeah, we definitely expected that, yeah.
Yeah, and I know we're on different sides of the spectrum there in terms of Locatelli. We'll get there right out of the gate. Let's go to Locatelli right out of the gate. Are you nervous?
Um, yeah, I would say so. I would say I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yeah, I'm saying I'm a bit nervous. Yeah.
Just nervous that Juve won't finalize, hey?
Yeah, I think financially, I believe all the kind of rumours and everything that's been mentioned, I don't think we're in the best position financially. I think it's such a complex deal as well. But I'm nervous, but in the same breath, I've also got a kind of a moderate level of confidence we'll get the deal done. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like we've spoken about it so much too, and in the chat groups and stuff. But I think like Locatelli given his word to Juve, them having a personal terms agreed upon, him saying no to other clubs.
Yeah.
I think Juve is just trying to see where the other pieces of the puzzle fall. I think a couple other things will be Demiral's future and Ronaldo's.
Yeah.
Ronaldo slated to come back to camp this week, as well as the Azzurri players and everything. I think that was another thing that kind of stopped the rush to the Euros, the tournament going on, and everybody respecting Locatelli's wishes to not be bothered by the transfer stuff. And then also the fact that he wouldn't even be joining camp until this particular week.
Yeah.
But now it's like I did expect them to wrap it up this past week. Like I thought, okay, we'll get Locatelli done the week prior to him having to come into camp. Yeah. But it'll get done. It will get done. I'm not concerned about it. I think they'll do it. Demiral. Demiral being sold potentially to Atalanta. Apparently the first bid's going to come in. 25 million, 5 million in bonuses, but Juve is going to hold out for that 35 to 40 that they want. Your thoughts on selling Demiral?
I think if the right offer comes in, you need to entertain it. We spoke about it on our private chat that I think he's a good player. He's got huge potential, but I think if the rumours are true, I think he's expecting a guaranteed starting place, which I don't see happening. I think he lacks the temperament and the discipline to be a regular starter. And let's face it, he's got some serious competition back there. I would like to see him, if he does happen to be sold, I would like to see him go to Atalanta, because it might just open up an avenue to potential discussions with Gossens.
Yeah, well, apparently Pessina is a name
that's
thrown around there, and that's got some mixed reviews from some Juventini. The majority being all for bringing Pessina, especially after Euros there, but you're always a little weary just getting a guy based on a tournament, right? But he's been okay for them this past season. Pessina was actually playing quite well. So how do you feel about Pessina being a potential name in that deal?
I agree with you. I think it's always risky taking a punt on a player that's had relatively little playing time. I think going from Atalanta, with all due respect, a fantastic football side, but Atalanta to Juventus is a different reality altogether. I think he's a great player, but I struggle to see where he would kind of line up in Allegri's 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. I don't think he's a player. I don't think he's the type of profile that we need right now, but I think he's a fantastic player, yeah.
Yeah, I think the potential is very, very high with him. I was very, very impressed obviously in the Euros, but again, yeah, it's always risky business with Demiral. Yeah, I like the defender. I like him a lot. I like his style. I think he's a great mix, and you have to have those guys. And it's funny how sometimes, Chiellini's been that guy, always been that guy.
Yeah.
And he grew into that polished defender that he is, right? Where he can play right on the edge of that line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And do it well. Demiral, he needs the time to get there where he can understand how to play with that aggression, but do it in that controlled manner like Chiellini, right?
Yeah.
Again, having said that, he would still be fourth on our depth chart for me personally, because I don't put him near Chiellini and De Ligt at all, and Bonucci's ahead of him on his ball playing abilities, right? So it's like, it's really tough. Anywhere you slice it, I put him fourth on the depth chart, and if he wants more minutes, I agree with the managers so far on where he has been on the depth chart. So if a move has to happen, then let's try and make the most of it and cash out, right? It's tough. And I know that there's a lot of Juventini that get frustrated at the fact that we are pushing away young guys and we still have, Chiellini, Bonucci in there, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of why the argument continues. So how do you feel about the fact of still staying committed? Chiellini's set apparently to extend. It's like over 100% they're going to extend. There are some rumors saying that it's not just going to be a 1-year thing, that he's pushing for a 2-year that would take him into Qatar. Like he's going to try to, maybe one last hurrah, especially after the Euro. And, the thought even crossed my mind, man, is he going to stretch it after we won the Euros? It's like, man, is he going to stretch it out to try and get to that tournament? So the other part of it is apparently he wants an increase from 3.5 to 5 million euros. That part of it, I don't believe.
No.
Because you always heard those old school guys, even like Buffon talking, saying they would never create an issue for Juventus. And Chiellini has spoken big time about he won't play anywhere else in Italy except for Juve.
Yeah.
So I don't believe the salary portion of it.
Yeah.
He's been underpaid his entire tenure with Juventus, in my personal opinion. So I don't think now towards the end he's going to make a push for a salary increase. But I could see him trying to get 2 years and sneak to that Qatar thing. What do you think?
It just depends on how well we can manage his minutes. The problem with Chiellini is it's a reoccurring injury all the time. It's not a new injury. It's the same injury repeated time after time, as I say. So it'll be interesting to see this year if the guys at the back can stay fit. And obviously the ones I consider are Chiellini, Bonucci and De Ligt. If they guys can stay fit, then you can manage his minutes, and there's no reason why he couldn't go on for another 2 years. His presence is fantastic. Obviously, you need a guy like that around. Obviously, a bit like Gigi Buffon last year, and obviously Simone Padoin coming back. You need these guys around just to have the kind of aura that they bring. But if we can get 2 years out of them on and off the pitch, then absolutely. But I don't believe the salary thing for 1 minute. I have to agree with you. I don't think he's that kind of player that would necessarily hold the club to ransom. I don't see that as his style. I don't believe that for 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't agree with that one at all. The thing with Demiral too that people should remember too is we've got the youngster Dragusin in behind. We had to bring back Rugani de Chilio. Rugani apparently sought after by Sarri. Hopefully we can make that move and he can go be reunited with Sarri at Lazio. Because I think that project should have ended a long time ago. But keeping Dragusin around, if they can get the Locatelli deal and retain Dragusin, Fagioli, Rovella. Apparently Rovella will only be at either Juve or Genoa and won't be included in the Sassuolo deal. That's as per his agent a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic news because Rovella looked good, in my opinion, in the minutes we saw for him at Genoa.
Yeah.
So, I think, honestly, Juve remains ownership on him, that's a win. Whether he goes back to Genoa and plays more there, or Allegri decides he wants to keep him around. But again, we're flooded in that midfield right now because can't move anybody, right? The reports of a Pjanic 2.0, we were talking about this there. So, Anto, let's get your thoughts on just the midfield situation, how it's got too many cooks in the kitchen right now. Pjanic wants to get back here. We're looking at getting Locatelli. Your thoughts on the midfield situation?
I think we need to start looking at freeing up some space before we can bring anyone in. I cast my memory back to when you had Mirko Di Natale on, and you asked him, obviously, his thoughts on the upcoming Mercado. And I've seen myself agreeing with him. I think one of Fagioli, and I'm going to throw a name out there, but I think he's one for the future, Duda Peters. He looked really good in training. You can see Allegri having lots of chats with him one-on-one. So it may well be that this next midfielder we may already have in the ranks. Pjanic, I've said all along, if we can bring Pjanic in the right formula and also have Locatelli come into the club, it's massive upgrades. So those two players are already much better than the players we've got already. So I agree with what you said off the air just before we went live. Pjanic, obviously, to these latter days, before he went to Barcelona, he was obviously on a massive slope. And as you said, he struggled to get into a relatively poor Barcelona team. So, but I still think he's better than most of the midfielders we've got just now. And it's a long season. There's going to be a congested fixture list with the World Cup coming up. There's going to be many games. There's always a lot of injuries. But we need players that are ball players. We've got too many midfielders that are all the same style of player. So if Pjanic can be brought in with Locatelli, then I think you do it.
Yeah. If Pjanic, bringing him in is the difference in, say, getting a kid like Fagioli minutes, or even Rovella, keeping Rovella in and giving him minutes, though, where do you side on that?
That's the thing. I tend to think Allegri won't change much. I think he'll go to his go-to guys the first maybe a dozen games, but you don't know what's going to unfold. But I have to agree with you. I think that's a very Italian mentality, that the young players are never ready. In most countries all over the world, or all over Europe, they give these young guys the chance. You just have to look at England. They've got so many talented players sitting on a bench that are all playing already with big clubs, Premier League, Champions League. They're playing week in, week out. In Italy, we tend to leave them a wee bit too longer, in my opinion. But I have to agree with you. If Pjanic was been brought in, and you're denying somebody like Fagioli minutes, or Peters, I'm a bit against that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Like, I got a couple issues with. Number one, it's like we're going back to Pjanic maybe for comfortability, and again, he was on a regression, and we've got some young and up and comers, and maybe we need to go that way. And Mancini with the Azzurri, actually, he kind of killed a lot of people, like a lot of beliefs that have been out there in Italian football for a while. You know, like when you talk about the young guys and whatnot, he completely just came in and shut down all those things that we were going against, you know, like always experience, going with the experienced guys, where no, he gave the guys that were in form, whatever their age was, he let them go, he let them rock. He had the perfect balance of experience and youth. And he got the job done. He showed that they can, right? Guys like Pessina that played a role in it, you know, the young guys in the midfield. Barella's been going with the Azzurri strong ever since his move to Inter, whatnot. It's just he's kind of killed all that. Chiesa in there. Chiesa's been on a tear ever since the move to Juve there, and I look forward to seeing him grow with this club as well. So it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one to think about. Honestly, I don't see Pjanic coming back. When it comes to that particular rumor, I don't see it happening. The other thing is somebody's got to move. I can't see us moving any of our midfielders right now. Ramsey, I can't see it, because he's got more money coming up in that deal. So for him to walk away for it, it's got to be a club that's enticing. and I don't see any of those clubs making a move for Ramsey. And honestly, yeah, why would they, to be honest? You know what I mean? Rabiot, there's potential there. I think there's always interest in a guy like Rabiot, but Juve shouldn't really move him.
No.
I mean, you could argue that you want to move him because of the fact he came in on a free or whatnot, but performance-wise, it doesn't really justify, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a tough one there in the middle of the park. Cristiano Ronaldo set to come back this particular week, and the rumors circulating there are that he will stay. He'll play out his the last season of the contract. Apparently, he's looking for an extension. Apparently, if Mbappe finds a way to Madrid, he's on his way to PSG. There's a lot circulating there. Your thoughts on the Cristiano Ronaldo situation, what you would like to see versus what you think is going to happen?
I mean, what I would like to see is him finally move on. I would like to see him go this year. I've been firm on my stance with Ronaldo now for the last year. I'm not going to change my opinion. I'm not going to change my opinion now. I think he restricts the team evolving. I've said it for so long now. The team look more balanced when he's not playing. It's no surprise that the games he didn't play this year, we've probably seen the most fluent style of football. But you can't deny the figures. I mean, his numbers speak for himself. So if you were asking me what would happen, what I would like to see happen, I would like to see him finally move on, and we can then start, obviously, this new cycle. I think the name you mentioned, Mbappe, that's going to be key in this whole kind of chain of reaction. If he goes to Real Madrid, if he finds a way, and then I think, obviously, it frees up a space for Ronaldo and PSG, the way they're conducting their business just now. They do what they want anyway, so you can see him playing over there. You can see the lifestyle. I've always said I don't see him going back to Manchester United. You can only really see his family maybe settling down in Paris. So I agree with you. I think if Mbappe moves to Real Madrid, he'll be the next PSG player.
Yeah, it's crazy how everybody else seems to have rules or whatnot, and PSG is just going to town right now. Interesting news out of the Donnarumma deal that it eventually works. It actually starts off working out to being less money than what he would have accepted at Milan.
Yeah,
the bonuses take him over based on performances. So if he achieves targets, it works out to more. And his salary will gradually increase throughout the 5-year contract, but it actually does start off as slightly less than what Milan had offered, which was would have worked out to close to 8 million net. And this 12 million salary he has at PSG after taxes takes him to just over 7. So it's an interesting thing there to think about. Got a couple comments here from AJ, one being the only Juve U23 talent that became some is Marquisio. So it tells you how likely it is for Fagioli to be a star in the future. Not talking necessarily about Fagioli being a star, though. It's, do you go with Pjanic, who was so bad during his last year of his tenure with Pjanic, with Juve? Or do you give a guy a shot that at least has fresh legs, that'll fight, that'll play? It's like, again, it's up to the coaching and the managers to make a decision. But Pjanic was done, and he has been done. And he actually looks like all of a sudden he aged 6 years in 1 year away from Juve, if anybody's seen him lately. So it's just like, man, it has nothing to do with this guy all of a sudden, like Fagioli needing to be a star. He doesn't need to be a star because, in my personal opinion, even the way Pjanic was playing, he was not a star. So it's literally just looking at an option, because if you bring Pjanic in, Pjanic wouldn't be starting, in my opinion. Neither would Fagioli. So I would rather give cameo minutes and keep a guy around a first team that's young to see what he's got and see if he's built, and then make your decision from there. Hey, you know what? I don't see Fagioli developing anything. Let's make a move. You know, it's something they never did with Rugani. or these other guys below. Like we talked about it, how long Rugani has been part of a Juventus team that he shouldn't be. You should know. You should make that decision, make that call, and move it aside, start the next project, roll it out, right? And there was people making shouts of Romero coming in and giving him those cameo minutes rather than Rugani back then, and you could have done that. You could have done that and seen what Romero has, and fuck, he would have been decent. So it's funny. It works both ways. Sure, some of the guys don't work out and they fail, but some of the guys show you quite a bit. You know, it's just keeping the project moving, keeping the project fresh, and just doing what's best for the team. And I see Pjanic as just not being able to make a serious impact. AJ says, keep in mind Icardi will come if CR7 leaves. That's another name that's out there. But I've heard also reports saying that that's not going to happen even if CR7 goes there. So it's interesting. It's an interesting one. Would you want Icardi to come?
Yes, 100%. I'm a big fan of Icardi, and I think we forget sometimes that Max Allegri is also a fan of Icardi. It seems that there's not a Mercado session goes by that he's not linked with Juventus. I strongly believe that Juventus were interested in him before he went to PSG from Merda. I think he gives you need to remember as well, Icardi's played in the league. You know how incredibly hard Serie A is for any striker coming from another league. Ronaldo is testament to that. Icardi's been there, he knows how to score goals, and he comes alive in the box. Now, I know obviously he's not your personal favourite, and I understand, but in a working system, so you take Ronaldo out of the equation, and you have players like Chiesa, Cuadrado, Kulusevski, Bernadeschi. What they give is they give you width, and they give you a supply chain into the box with a proper system. Locatelli, obviously pulling the strings. Icardi, you put the ball into him, he will score. The problem I've got with Icardi comes with a hell of a lot of baggage, and baggage you don't necessarily want around your club. But I don't believe Juventini when they say that he's a bad apple, because they said the same thing about Carlos Tevez, and we all know how that ended.
Yeah, and I agree with you in terms of Juve's been able to kind of tame guys like that have come in with reputations like that and whatnot. However, the Juve as of late seemingly slid away from that. That's why I'm hoping a guy like Arriva Bene, a no-nonsense dude coming in, helps. Keeping Chiellini around. You know, like guys like that, like it should help. It should help in that situation. But Icardi, my issue with him is just the fact that he is almost a one-trick pony.
Yeah. He's a classic number 9,
I don't know if it would be best. I don't know. It's the guy can score goals. But he did the PSG matches I did watch. Out of the ones I did, I think he impressed me in like one of them. And they play a pretty open attacking style. And I don't know. There's definitely, let's put it this way, there's definitely worse options out there. I think if you take the personal shit out of the mix, it'd be just fine. You know what I mean? And I think Allegri could maximize that. If you had Morata's loans obviously kept for another year, I don't see them purchasing him after the fact, which is fine because the money's going to be too high. But you take him for that loan, and him and Icardi, that's a hell of two number 9s that you can have. You know what I mean? So if you've got, you know, Icardi and then you've got Morata to switch in, that's great. And you know, let's get to formation wise. Do you expect the 4-2-3-1 or would you go 4-3-3? And let's factor in, for the sake of just discussing it, let's say we bring in Locatelli, because I believe it is going to happen. It is going to happen, UNT. But let's say Locatelli's in. 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. How would you shape them up? How would you line them up? Let's say CR7 stays, and let's do one with CR7 going, and say Icardi comes in.
Yeah. We've had this discussion. In fact, Eric and I were having a private discussion out with the chat just regarding, in fact, you and I spoke about those kind of formations briefly as well. I would like, if Ronaldo stays, I would like to see if I seen that. if Ronaldo does stay, you would hope that he would maybe adopt this role that he plays in Portugal, and he seems to play it with no problems. But I don't see it happening. He's that kind of player that just wants to play in that position. You won't change him. The best formation for me, if Ronaldo had to leave, would be a 4-2-3-1 with Locatelli and maybe obviously a Rabiot or someone just to clean up next to him. Chiesa, you can play him anywhere you want. You can play him on the right, you can play him on the left. I was a big fan of him on the right-hand side, but after seeing the Euros, especially the goal against Spain, where he obviously started out on the left-hand side, cut on his right foot and scored that wonderful goal. He can either play on the left or the right, but I think the best formation, and I think Max Allegri's thinking about it already, is a 4-3-3. That, to me, is the best formation based on this roster that we have currently.
4-3-3, eh? Yeah. Kulusevski. Where are you going to slot him on the wing?
No, I think he's in a 4-2-3-1. He's perfect just as that kind of player behind the number 9. So if Dybala happens to play that role, it'll be interesting to see where Allegri plays Dybala. I'm hearing a lot of this Toto Campo position that Allegri sees him in. I don't understand. Obviously, Allegri's much smarter than I am, and he gets paid a hell of a lot more money than I do. But the guy's a striker. He's a live wire. You need to have him 20 yards at most from the goal. But I think Allegri sees him more as a kind of deeper midfielder. So that to me would maybe say that he is maybe going to play with the 4-2-3-1 to have Dybala drop into midfield and pick the ball up. But Kulusevski, I refer back to the Lazio game last year when we threw the lead away in the last minutes. Kulusevski played as a mediano, and that to me was his best game that he's played in a Juventus jersey, where he had pitch in front of him and he could obviously take his player on and square them up. So I see him better in a kind of hole in the middle of the park rather than out wide. I don't think he's got blistering pace to play in the wing. He's quick over 20 yards, but I don't see him as a winger, no.
Yeah. I think we're honestly like, I would expect to see a mix based on what players are on the pitch.
Yeah.
Because I think he's got quite a bit of flexibility when you've got guys like Dybala, Kulusevski, Cuadrado, Bernadeschi and whatnot that could fill, kind of like these multiple roles, and they're these half positional players too.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can easily see, especially in the midfield, say Locatelli comes in. I think a guy like Locatelli's fine in a 2-man pivot as well as a 3-man midfield, which this is the part that surprised me the most at the Euros, was how well he played to the side of Jorginho in the 3-man midfield. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
The ability to support the attack, get into shooting range and whatnot. It was great to see. And yeah, I think I could see Max mixing between the 4-2-3-1 and the 4-3-3. And I think honestly, it changes based on Ronaldo. We've heard the rumors of, wanting Ronaldo to slide into that top man role in the 4-2-3-1 or whatnot. And I honestly makes sense. And we talked about this a lot dating back to Allegri's season before with Ronaldo, where Matuidi ended up doing an insane amount of work to make up for having Ronaldo up there.
McKennie could do the same, yeah.
And then McKennie's another guy that actually looks good right now. He looks really, really fit. Last year, we know he had the nagging hip injury, and they were asking him to cut weight, which was kind of strange to do mid-season and whatnot, because it usually when you change, whether it be diets and or training regimes, it can kind of have sometimes a strange effect on him. We saw him drop off towards the end of the season. I expect him to have a strong season. Do you see him being able to play as another one of those attacking mids? Because with Pirlo, he was kind of used in that sense, pulling him out of the midfield into that kind of hybrid position. Or do you like him as a more of a stay-at-home box-to-box guy?
McKennie, I've heard a lot of rumours that he's looking to use him the same way he used as Arturo Vidal. He does have a lot of loose traits about him, but I actually prefer McKennie's position ideally for me is the Casemiro role, where he gives you muscle in front of a defence and he allows guys like Locatelli or Chiesa, Dybala, Ronaldo, if they're all playing, to go ahead and express himself. You touched on a great point. Regardless of where Ronaldo plays, now we've all, obviously you and I have played the game. Formations are just names on a piece of paper. That's just my honest opinion. And during 90 minutes, you change your position so many times. There'll be moments in the game you have to, if you start on the left, you might have to play on the right. The MSN at Barcelona interchanged all the time. So Chiesa, Ronaldo and Dybala could all do that, no problem. I don't see an issue. The issue you've got is you need players like McKennie, Rabiot, Bentancur, Locatelli who are willing to run and allow these guys not to have to chase back. So McKennie, I don't see him being deployed as an extra attacker, or sometimes the way Pirlo was playing him last year when he was out right, or when he just looked so out of place. I mean, it was actually a shame for the guy because you could tell that he didn't want to be there. But I think if you simplify it, and Allegri will do that, he'll simplify things and he'll play each player to their natural position. I see him as a holding midfielder, but that's just my opinion.
I see McKennie as a holding mid, yeah. Danilo did a fantastic job in that Casemiro role last season. And I think I liked him back there with the pace and whatnot. And that's just another one of the options, right?
Yeah.
Locatelli, in a 4-3-3, they said they were showing some drawings of him playing as that what would be the Regista role, which I think he could. I think he could play anywhere across the mid after watching him in the Euros.
Absolutely.
So I'm fine there. Arthur, we know we're going to be without Arthur for a couple months. Had successful surgery. The follow-up inspection looked good from the doctor, so he'll be recovering. Frustrating scenario. Arthur is going to look at big things, hoping for big things out of him in the second year with Juve. First one was a bit of a mix, I would say is fair to say with Arthur. I think he showed some quality, but just not enough and not consistently enough. But I think there's a great player there. It's just finding the best way to have him, put his impact on the team and the squad, right? But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. In other news, you touched on it too. Padoin coming back as part of the staff. That just feels right, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Guys get more medals than Francesco Totti, for goodness sake.
Yeah. Well, fuck, so does Pinsolio.
Rugani.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Rugani. Yeah.
Rest my case.
Yeah. But sometimes loyalty has a price, right? So that's on Totti, is what it is.
Yeah.
But Rugani, Pinsolio, Padoin. It feels right, man, having Padoin back. Barzagli obviously turned it down for the same reasons he did before, being around family and whatnot. Apparently, he's going to be a pundit for somebody. So he's getting into that with the broadcasting stuff, which is fine. No issues. I would have loved to have Barzagli around. In terms of our defense, obviously Chiellini and Bonucci receiving an insane amount of praise, rightfully so, after the Euros. We got De Ligt in the back there. Right out of the gate, your top two pairing. Does Bonucci have to be in there?
Do you know what? Bonucci's made me eat my words big time.
Yeah.
I was worrying for him getting into the Euros. and he's came out the other end, the Bonucci that we all remember, a rock, absolute rock solid. And the good thing with the Azzurri guys coming back, they've got huge momentum, self-belief, which is massive, huge for certain players like Bonucci. Bernadeschi will really benefit off of this. But my two main guys, just because Chiellini, you have to manage his... If we were playing a Champions League final tomorrow, my two would be Chiellini and De Ligt. Not because Bonucci can't do a job, it's just because those guys, they're a wall. But over the duration of a season, if I had to pick two, it would be Bonucci and Matthias De Ligt.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I look at it and, man, De Ligt is that all-around guy.
Yeah.
You know, Chiellini is that go out and give no breathing room, aggressive defender. And Bonucci's that cleanup guy.
Yeah.
That's great at moving the ball and turning things quickly. So it's like, honestly, like the mix with De Ligt and Bonucci, it was fantastic. It was fantastic before COVID. Bonucci was on an insane tear for Juve before COVID struck. And then when they came back, Bonucci just took this massive dip.
Yeah.
He took this massive dip. Obviously, when the BBC was going, all three of those guys were massive in their own way. You had Barzagli, who was just clean, crisp, smart, could read a play like almost a minute before it's even happening. Like, just the way he read the game was perfect. Chiellini was your physical guy everybody tried to steer away from. And Bonucci was able to just control things.
Yeah.
You know, they were amazing together. Bonucci was always great. He goes to Milan, has a down year, comes back, looked okay, nothing crazy. But then that Sarri season, he was great until COVID hit. And then when he came back, it was a big dip.
Yeah.
And then ever since, the only times he looked good was when he was next to Chiellini.
Yeah.
You know, he had this long skid. And then going into the tournament, it was crazy to see how many Azzurri fans out there were saying, get away from Chiellini and Bonucci. And they were actually saying that's the weakest part of our team. Mm-hmm. I have texts, I have DMs, I was saying like, and I was just like, well, I'm not like, that's the least of my concerns is Chiellini and Bonucci. Maybe pace here and there might trouble them, but you get so much assistance. And this is another thing that helps it, because you get so much help from guys like Jorginho and Barella, even though Barella had an off tournament.
Exactly.
The defensive work from those guys, even Verratti.
The front three as well.
Like the amount of help that they get and they receive with the Azzurri, they haven't been getting that.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not get that. Definitely didn't get it last year. Even in the year prior, it's just not the same.
Yes.
Makes a massive, massive difference. Jorginho flies under so many people's radar for his defensive work and how he can sniff things out so easily. And it makes things easier for those guys at the back. But Bonucci and Chiellini had a fantastic tournament. And I'm kind of leaning towards you, like in a clutch go-to, man, maybe Chiellini and De Ligt, but Bonucci, if he's like that and he can keep that rolling, it's a tough choice.
Yeah.
It's a tough choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, Anthony coming in here with, for some reason, people forgot that Bonucci is one of the best, if not the best, center back in the world in terms of ball distribution. It was very, very good at the Euro.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal he was.
Yeah. Yeah. He just got to keep that rolling. And we talked about this too. And you had a theory just about minutes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, you know, when Bonucci gets rolling and he gets those games going, you know, but the same thing, this season had a lot of games in close succession, you know, 2, 3 days, like 3 days and then 4 days you're playing all season. Right.
The big difference was you just answered your question previously. The way the Italian team played at the Euros, they defended high up the pitch. They understood that Bonucci and Chiellini didn't have the legs to maybe chase her forward. So they very rarely put them in a position to defend one-on-one. Something that last year Pirlo didn't do. There was a very open style of football, and if my memory serves me correctly, Juventus conceded a hell of a lot of shots on goal most games. The back line was almost always exposed. Something that Allegri won't do. He'll obviously have a rigid system where he'll protect those guys. So momentum, obviously it's winning momentum, gives you that self-confidence, gives you that belief. Bonucci is one of those players like Bernadeschi that I think he suffers massively with negative criticism, and you can see it in his gameplay. But I think it's down to what systems played and what the guys in front of him do. I've always said midfield's the most important part on the pitch. If a midfield's performing in an attacking and defensive side, everything clicks into place. But if your midfield, like our midfield was last year, it's all over the place. There's so much moving parts in transition. Your guys at the back are going to struggle. They're exposed. So I think it's down to the system, how well these two play. They're great players. They're born with it, as I say. So, but if you put them in a 1v1 situation, they're going to struggle massively. Correa for Lazio exposed Bonucci and showed everybody how poor he is when it's 1v1. He's a fantastic football player, but I still don't think he's the best defender in the world. Yeah. But as Anthony was saying, ball playing wise, he's by far the best in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. AJ coming in here with a note saying that in the Sarri season, Bonucci played 35 matches, 90 minutes, and he was simply tired near the end. They had a massive break during that season due to the pandemic. There was a big break. There was a chance to recoup for everyone involved, right? It wasn't, regardless. There was a break in there. It was after the break he came back, which was odd because that's when you would think he'd be rested, ready to go. He was fantastic up until it. But besides the point, here we go. Locatelli. We forgot to talk about this. I wanted to ask you, Anthony, because I've asked fans all their opinions. If the price goes up because Sassuolo is trying to use this Arsenal interest in Locatelli, is 45 too much, in your opinion, for Locatelli?
For me, no way. The guy's a modern day midfielder. Look at how many different elements he brings to the game. I think 45, 50 million is a steal, in my opinion, in this. Jadon Sancho's just signed for Manchester United for 90 million. The guy can't even get a game in England. I think I've seen him once or twice. Yeah, he's a good player, but is he worth 90 million? So if you're getting a guy like Locatelli, who's an established Italian midfielder, he knows the league inside out, 45, 50 million, you just get it done. Find a way to do it and get it over the line.
Yeah. For me, I don't see it as too much. And very few Juventini saw it as too much, but there were some that argued saying, yeah, it's too much. But at the same time, it is a product of the market. And these Premier deals are a nightmare.
Yeah.
And they're making it a nightmare for everywhere around. And then when you see PSG pulling the shit they do, it just hurts everybody all around, right? In terms of the market and what teams have to spend and whatnot. But Sassuolo's playing their cards. They know he wants to go to a big club, and they're trying to maximize. You can't fault them. They're doing what they need to do. I still think it's a good price. If it hits 45, whatever, you just got to get it done. We just talked about it in terms of Chiellini, Bonucci. And the difference I see from the Juve to the Azzurri is the midfield. If you remember all our discussions leading up to the Euros, and I remained consistent. I said it the entire time. I have posts on Twitter. They're all out there. I believed in the Azzurri because I said they have one of the top midfields in the world. And I agree with you 100% that games are won and lost in the middle of the park. Your offense succeeds based on your midfield. Your defense is stronger based on your midfield. Juventus, this is why I gave Pirlo some more I was more lenient with Pirlo than a lot of Juventini were, and it's because our midfield, to me, still lacks characteristics.
Yeah.
Locatelli brings some characteristics we need in there. Is it enough by himself to change things? And this is where a lot of Juventini are saying no. They're just saying he's nowhere near enough. But it's hard to really say that because you change the balance and you change the whole unit. You know what I mean? So let's say in a 3-man unit, what you see as the best balanced midfield for Juventus, or are we still missing a set of skills and abilities? A guy like, because I was always saying before this Mercado, I said, if Juve can come out of it with a guy like Locatelli and find a guy that's got the characteristics of a De Paul, even if it's not him, that driving kind of midfielder or whatnot, they would be perfect.
Yeah.
Do you still think we miss something in that middle of the park to complete a nice balanced 3-man mid?
I think what you're alluding to, do I think Locatelli's the answer to our problems? Absolutely not. I think he's going to help the problems a lot, but we still need a bit more. I think we lack a player like Barella, somebody that brings energy and intensity to the midfield. He can do everything. It's funny because when you look at Barella, he doesn't look as if he can dominate a midfield, but he does, because he's all over the place. He brings energy, a willingness to go forward and chase back. That's what we miss. That's what I think if you're going to be successful in modern day football, you need to play at high intensity and have lots of energy all over the pitch. Something that Italy done and obviously done it very well. The best midfield with this current roster, assuming Locatelli comes in, for me, I would have Locatelli as a mediano. Inside right or left, so that he can get forward and give you goals and obviously give you runs into the box. I said obviously on the private chat, I would like to see, obviously Arthur's injured, which is a pity in my opinion. I think he's still got a hell of a lot to give. But even playing the game, being able to give the ball to someone like Arthur or Verratti, just to relieve some of the pressure and take the sting out of the game is massive. So if he could play in that holding midfield role and have some players like McKennie and Locatelli in a 3-man midfield, I think that gives you the right kind of balance between being good on the ball possession-wise, but also giving you the energy in the box and obviously getting back to defend as well.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think a couple things change it too, like what they want to do as far as attacking midfielders. If they want to go with 2 and then add 1 up top, but I'm kind of leaning towards you. I think that's probably the best balance. Arthur, I just really wanted to see some more. I'm not. I don't know. I honestly loved Danilo in that role there. Just at the way he read plays and shut things down and was able to get the ball to the other guys quickly, whoever was on either side of him in that formation. And it's an interesting one. Arthur, Locatelli on the opposite side, whether it be McKennie. Rabiot didn't get enough goals on the right side, and I've always said he looks better on that right side of the pitch when he was coming in. And if you think back to a couple beauties he scored, he was playing on that right side and he came off. Everybody remembers it was against Milan, that crazy run he made, stepping in and then taking it with his left as he's left-footed. It could be good. Could be good. We had to wait a couple months now for Arthur though, but it's preseason time. We got Cesena today. Piazza probably on his way out to Torino. They want a dry loan option to buy. Juve's pushing for obligation, obviously. Just one of another set of guys that we gotta kind of move from. Piazza, man, I always was really rooting for him. Like I wanted to see him do well. I think he's a good player. He had some bad luck with injuries. But Piazza, we'll see. Today he's supposed to be in the starting lineup. We'll see what Allegri's been cooking up with about half the guys. But this roster is about 80 to 90% complete as it stands. It's not going to be a whole lot of action. We kind of knew that at the end of last season. Realistically, let's just say Demiral's moved, Locatelli's in, and that's it. What were your expectations be with Max Allegri back and a team that loses Demiral, brings in Locatelli on the roster? How strong do you see this roster as?
I still think we've got one of the best sides in Europe. I've argued this last year on a private chat. I still think with this current team, we should have done a hell of a lot better than the league position obviously stood at the end of the season. I strongly believe that we'll retain our championship off Merda, because I look at the team who have won the league. I think they've weakened with the arrival of Simone Inzaghi. Obviously, Eriksen is a massive pity what's happened to him. So they've lost that element. They've lost Hakimi. And I don't think that the team... I didn't think they were good enough last year as well. I just think that Juventus lost the league rather than them winning it. So I think with this team, with the additions of Locatelli, I think the Ronaldo thing's massive. We'll see how that unfolds in the coming weeks. But if we presume Ronaldo's going to stay and Locatelli comes in, we need to win the league. With Allegri back, it's an absolute minimum. The Champions League's the biggest thing. But you need everything for the Champions League. Del Piero said it. The best team doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the Champions League. Like any major tournament, you need luck. You need everything to go in your way. You need obviously a talented side, but it's eventually going to happen. Will it happen in our lifetime or not? You don't know. But I'm being a bit selfish because I actually remember winning it in 1996. But I was almost an AC Milan fan back then, but that's a story for a different day.
Yeah, that's funny. So Giovanni Cristiano, what time in Canada is the friendly at? The friendly's taking place at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern time. Should be on Juventus TV. If not, head to La Roa Diretta. They have streams on everything. You'll be able to find it there. But yeah, it'll be at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, noon Eastern. Anthony coming in here with 2 trophies are a minimum this season. I think I'm expecting the same stimulus from Allegri that we saw his first year when he joined Juve. I think Locatelli will, and again, I'm all in on this. It's happening. I know that Antonio laughs every time, and he's like, loves my confidence. It's happening. It's happening. Locatelli will help form that balance. And I think Allegri's going to have to find that one set of traits we're still missing a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe McKennie can do it, and that's the early signs out of the camp, is that he'd be the one they're looking to be that driving, attacking guy.
Yeah.
Maybe when Arthur comes back and Locatelli can slide, we know he can support and get advanced, and then you could have an incredible midfield there, potentially. Because we know how strong Arthur is in possession. We know that he can beat the press. And then with a guy like Locatelli on one side, if McKennie can get things rolling, I think too much movement last season for McKennie. Right side, left side, outside mid. It's too much.
Yeah.
Nagging hip injury, dietary changes, all this, training regimen changes. I think we keep things simple with Max. I think Max will keep things simple. I think guys will know their roles. I think it'll be clear. I think it'll help. But Locatelli coming in, the biggest thing for us is the midfield. I feel fine at the back. I mean, Alexandro is what is, but with Danilo, Cuadrado should probably be used more advanced.
Yeah.
But again, there's options there. Danilo is a great utility that we have. Here's a guy I want to talk to as we get close to wrapping up here. Bernadeschi. Okay. Bernadeschi is got to be on, well, we've seen he's on cloud nine. I mean, he got married right after the Euros. He's been partying everywhere. I may not agree with the attire he chose, but the guy is on cloud nine right now. And he stepped up and, worked his ass off in the cameos he had for the Azzurri and stepped up and took some big time PKs. Mm-hmm. He broke down in the interview, talked about how hard the season was and stuff like that. And it's tough, man. Sometimes as fans, we get so caught up in wanting the team to succeed that we say things and we just go off on guys, and you know what I mean? And as far as being a professional goes, Bernadeschi's at the top as far as being a professional.
Yeah, 100%.
Because he's only made the one comment as of late in his entire tenure, which was in regards to just how he feels with the Azzurri based on being with Juve. And you can't disagree with the fact that he has been used everywhere except goalkeeper pretty much and center back at Juve. The one time we saw anything out of him was under Allegri, and he was played in a mid-winger role. You know, can Allegri find a way to get the best out of Bernadeschi in this upcoming season? What do you think, Anto?
I think on a personal level, for someone who's struggled with mental health issues most of his life, I think modern day footballers, we only see what we see on the TV. They look as almost if they're bulletproof. They're not. They're human beings like the rest of us. Bernadeschi's a young guy who's probably received horrible things on social media. Unfortunately, social media can be used for good things, but most of the times it gives idiots gives them a voice to say horrible things. I mean, look at what they said to Morata when he missed that penalty. They were wishing his children dead. I mean, how can these guys then go and perform on a pitch? It must affect him. And I think it did affect Bernadeschi. You've seen how emotional he was in that interview. But he showed you his positive sides where he stepped up, hit a penalty, and he was phenomenal, as I say. So he showed character, he showed resilience. I think if it's going to happen, it must happen this season for his career. He's got momentum. He's got things back on his side. Obviously, on a personal level, he's been married. Allegri's coming back in, and I think the first maybe dozen or so games, Bernadeschi you'll probably see a lot of them, just because Allegri knows that he won't shy away defensively, and he'll give his all. I still think he's a very talented footballer. He's got an absolute wand of a left foot. But I think, I'm a big fan of Bernadeschi. I think you can see in his eyes that he struggles with criticism. As I said, I've struggled myself with mental health battles. And it's nice to see these guys open up and show that emotional side, because they are human beings and they're family guys as well.
Yeah. Obviously, Eric has eyes on the discussions anytime Bernadeschi gets involved. This guy, Eric, deserves to share every bit of Bernadeschi's success that comes his way. And when he steps up and buries those PKs, I can't help but think about Eric and how he's reacting when he does it, because he's been by his side the entire time. AJ, Bernadeschi has never been on his sell list. And it's funny because we talked about it even going at the end of this particular season. And I said, he hasn't been at the top of the sell lists. Like in the seasons, we've all been like, oh man, you got to get rid of Bernadeschi. You got to get rid of Bernadeschi. It's like he's just, there's always been other guys you need to move before him.
Yeah.
And again, when we talk about just at least being that professional, Bernadeschi, I can only think of maybe one instance where he's had to miss a couple games. There's always a very short period of time. Mm-hmm. He's always a body that's willing and able.
Yeah.
And he covers, I mean, hell, we had him at left back last season, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Left back, in the middle of the park, up top as a forward. he's literally played everywhere and can play everywhere. In terms of the performances that sometimes we see, again, he's been shifted around. He hasn't been. I get myself caught up in these mixed emotions because the argument with Bernadeschi is that he's been given far too many chances. How many chances can you give a guy?
Yeah, absolutely.
But has he been given enough chances at the right position?
No.
Okay.
No.
So let's say 4-2-3-1.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see maximizing Bernadeschi in a 4-2-3-1?
I actually said this not so long ago that I would like to see him playing on the right-hand side so that he can utilise his main weapon, which is his left foot, where he plays with the Azzurri. He's a right winger. He just loves to come back on that left foot. He opens up the pitch. If he plays there, and I've always said a football player needs consistency with positions. There's no point in moving them around all the time. It's okay every now and again you have to tailor your team, but you need consistency with the position these guys play so that they can understand what's expected of them. And if you've got a player like Bernadeschi, you need to put him in a position where he can use that left foot and have him close to the box. So I see him as in a 4-2-3-1. I see him on the right hand side of that three.
Yeah. And so then I guess even in 4-3-3, you see him on the right hand side.
Again, yeah.
The alternative to Chiesa.
Mm-hmm. Or you can play Chiesa on the left hand side.
1-2.
Yeah.
I think again we get back to midfields, right? And I think back to so many podcasts, so many match recaps where we break down player performances and whatnot. We break down key moments of the games. And I always remember saying Bernadeschi made great runs that were not rewarded.
Yeah.
And again, it was going back to our midfielders. Our midfielders lacking a guy with vision that could see that could pick it out, that could hit those passes.
Yeah.
We've been missing a middle of the park. We've been missing characteristics in the middle of the park that have just not been there.
Yeah.
We've been playing safe for far too long, not taking enough risks. Our game has been playing to the outsides. It's been lacking so much. We need to correct the middle of the park, get all the skills and abilities in there, and the rest will come together. We shouldn't have Ronaldo drifting out to bylines or coming back into the midfield, picking up the ball. You know, we shouldn't have those guys back. They should be able to play up front and attack and do what they do best. Chiesa, like up there going at guys 1v1 and whatnot. And we need to get back to that. And I think, again, that's why I say Juve needs to correct the middle of the park.
Yeah.
I think they're close. They'll get closer with Loca. But it'll be interesting who he sees as getting that help for that creation.
I think, just to add, I know you're obviously in a rush to...
Don't be sorry. I'm in no rush.
I think the one player that suffered massively with obviously the way Pirlo was trying to obviously make his teams play was Bentancur. I think far too much was expected from him, and obviously an attacking sense and a defensive sense. I think if you simplify Bentancur's role, he's a box-to-box midfielder who's probably best suited to play in a three-man midfield. If you ask him to play the deep, he obviously can play as a deep playmaker, but you can't then expect him to go and press the opposition when they're trying to play out, much like Pirlo did last season. That's why I think last year, like you say, most of the midfielders played safe because they were too caught up not to get exposed because there was too much expected of them. There was far too much moving parts. Football's I find it a very simple sport if you simplify things. The more you overcomplicate it, the more you expose guys like Bonucci and Chiellini, and you obviously expose players the things they're not very good at. You know, you need to keep things very simple, and the midfield's the most simple. Keep that the most simple part.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think honestly, like, they should build off that mold Mancini built.
Yeah.
That 4-man at the back that has one pressing fullback, keeping another back to protect. Out of your 3 midfields, you have one that steps up into the area to support attack.
Mm-hmm.
Keep 2 kind of back, lingering, that slowly, gradually progress forward. And that allows one of your wingers to become a central creator too.
Mm-hmm.
That would help us out big time, because a guy like Sandro can't bomb up and down anymore.
Yeah.
And he's going to be our left back. It appears all signs right now are leading to Luca Pellegrini having a good camp so far, and him probably being the backup there. Frabotta is almost a done deal on his way out. So, yeah, I mean, that mold would probably make the most sense. You've got a guy like Cuadrado that could do it on the right. You got a guy like Danilo that could do it on the right. Be that guy that pushes, that supports. Out of the midfield, take one of Bentancur, take one of McKennie, take one of Locatelli. Like, you'll have some options there, right? But that mold of how he did it at the Euros was pretty clean.
Yeah.
And then that kind of helps solve the issue with guys like Kulusevski, Dybala, even Bernadeschi. Because if you use those guys as one of those wingers, they get the freedom from whichever fullback you choose to press with, to slide in and kind of free roam, right? I think it's a mold that would help our team big time.
Yeah.
And we know we got the backs that could do that at the back and shut things down in Bonucci, Chiellini, De Ligt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keeping Sandro back. Sandro can't go the way he was in 15-16. So it just makes the most sense. But it'll be interesting to see. Very, very interesting to see. Man, we covered a lot. It's just basically a countdown now for Locatelli. The kits came out. Okay, we saw the away kits. We've seen the homes. The homes were used last year. They're going to be wearing the new away kits today, which in my opinion are very, very sharp. Very, very sharp away kits. We've seen Juventus put out the third kits, which is them saying thank you to Verona for that big draw against Napoli. So they're paying their respects there with the blue and yellow. Real quick, Anto, out of a 10, the new away kits.
I've ordered the home one, so I'm a big fan of that. The black one, I have to disagree. I'm not a huge fan. I preferred the prototypes that were going about. The third kit, I really didn't like it to start off with, but it started to grow on me. So I can't give a score.
Man. Are you gonna get Ferroni on the back of that one?
That's the blue one. I'm going to make my judgment when I see it in real life to see what it looks like. I didn't like the orange one last year and ended up bloody buying that. So,
well, as a collector, everybody knows I get them all. So the home kit, the away kit, I actually love it. I think it's sharp. I do agree with you though. The prototype was deadly. The prototype was deadly, but this is a sharp kit in my opinion. I really, really like it. The third kit is very, very, very interesting. It is very, very interesting. Again, I get them all as collectors. Sometimes they change when you see them in person. It's weird. It's weird, but
the orange one was the same last year. The orange one was horrendous, and then I bought it and I love it. I think it's one of the nicest ones we've got.
That orange one is actual like streetwear is actually like it's unreal, but it almost has like a training kit feel because of how wild it is. Like but home kit you have on order already. I'm actually waiting because I can't make up my mind on which player I'm gonna get on which kit. So I'm gonna ask you right now, home kit, did you get a player on the back of it?
Yes, I did.
Who was it?
Number 22.
Chiesa. Okay. The away kit. Are you going to get it? And who are you going to put on the back? The third kit, if you get it, who are you putting on the back of those two?
Number 11, Fabrizio Ravanelli. I took your advice.
Oh, you're going with the legend.
Yes.
On the away or the third?
No, I really don't like the black one. I don't see myself.
You're not getting it at all.
I think there's been nicer black kits. I'm not a fan of the kind of flashes that go through it. But I'll bide my time. But definitely the third one, I can see myself buying it.
Yeah. AJ saying the third kit is perfect for beach soccer. It looks like a volleyball. So the beach would be perfect there. Fix was always in. Ravanelli, great choice. There you go. Yeah, it's funny to see what people do with kits because everybody's got their own ways of thinking about it. I've heard some people say they feel strange getting a player that's younger than them on the back of a kit that they wear. I have no problem with it. And I mean, I would be down to nobody. I think Anto's in the same boat since we're around the same age. And then some people say, oh, they can't associate a legend with the kits and who they get and whatnot, right? Because they don't associate them with that season. But I personally love it all. Some people won't get their own personal name on a kit because they're just like, they just don't believe in that.
I've done that once, and my friends just made an absolute fool of me for the full year, and I've never do it again. Never again.
Oh man, honestly, I don't care about it at all. Like I do whatever the hell makes you feel good as long as you're happy with it. But for me, the home, oh man, it's tough. When Locatelli's announced, I think I'm going with the Locatelli home.
What number do you think he'll choose if it happens?
Man, I wish Danilo didn't switch from 13 to 6 because I wanted Loca to take the 6. If Ramsey somehow finds a way out, Loca with an 8 would be beautiful. He might just keep 73, but he'd probably take 21.
21, yeah.
Which would be fantastic because then you're talking about Zidane, Dybala at one point, Locatelli. That would be cool. But who knows? Who knows? We'll see. But that announcement will come this week. We'll be able to celebrate. Then I could finally order that kit.
I hope so.
I think in the black, I'm going to go Chiesa.
Yeah,
I think I'll slap Chiesa on that black one. And the third, man, who knows? But Chiellini, potentially his last hurrah. Maybe you slap a Chiellini kid in there. Or maybe I go Bonucci. Because that jersey might drive people nuts looking at it. And Bonucci is a bit of a protagonist himself, and we need to start basically nurturing that and realizing that he's Juve's Materazzi a bit. And I actually loved it. And I didn't realize until the Azzurri tournament about how much people can't stand Chiellini and Bonucci. And I heard it talking. Sure, I'm surrounded by Premeds, but man, these two cemented themselves. So maybe I slap a Bonucci on there. And I have the green Azzurri kit with Bonucci on the back of it too, which was beautiful and came in very, very handy for a few of my football matches because I'm very selective about what I wear to my my own personal football matches now, seeing how those English guys are all around. And the latest striped heart shirt where it says home is Rome. Italia Campione. I've been wearing that to many, many matches here. And they don't seem to like it, which makes it all the sweeter.
You know what will make it nicer, the blue one? You know what will make that more attractive, don't you?
What's that?
Have the Scudetto back on it.
Oh, yes.
So let's focus on that.
Thank God we got the Copa, so we got a little bit of green, white, and red on there. But I fully expect the following seasons we'll get that Scudetto patch back in there.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right, so that's it for Kit Talk, and that's it for the episode. Antonio, always a pleasure having you on. Everybody who took the time to join us, I can't thank you enough. Enjoy the first friendly of the season against Cesena. Take a look at some of the youngsters, see what Allegri's been up to. And we'll be again kicking around. I've got the Juve Todays going out daily, just keeping you informed on the rumors circulating and everything. And we got some more videos coming up and a lot of content coming out this season as we look forward to what Allegri can do with this squad. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the match today. We'll talk soon. Forza Juve, fino alla fine.